Hi, this is BK Black Krishna from manfulwars.com, where I'm promoting polite patriotism to help nice ladies and gents teach kids, look, talk, and feel great, and locally discuss and share great online info offline as nice, helpful, respectful people making better people and a better place to live. So check out manfulwars.com for more on that. And this video is called Steven Crowder, What If a Wild Canadian Manimal Was Raised by Conservative Americans? And this is basically a guy, Steven Crowder, former stand-up comic and conservative contributor to different outlets, now host of his own YouTube channel and Blaze TV network show, Louder with Crowder. He's got his Louder with Crowder website. And he's a guy that was technically born in Michigan, but he was raised in Quebec. And he was raised as a Catholic in Quebec. And so through his formative years, as a young man and as a teenager, he was in Quebec. Then later on, he moved to the U.S. And started doing stand-up comedy, and then became sort of a conservative pundit, and eventually got his own show. So, you know, he's a guy where if he stayed in Canada, he could be doing what a lot of Canadian men are now brainwashed to be doing, which is act like rude, lying, bitchy, sketchy, ugly old women who get worked up and force you to see them look ugly. So you have to force them to see you look ugly. Then you don't respect each other. You run away from each other and force strangers to see you look ugly. That's currently what's happening, and I've got tons of 100% video proof at manfulwars.com. They also like being ignored, like lying bitches begging to be broken. And so, you know, that, you know, shows kind of what it is. And this has happened before throughout history. Lots of artists out there have talked about this, lots of religious figures, intellectuals, and so on. Modern hip-hop, at least through the 90s and so on, a lot of it was about this. Don't bitch out. Don't let your boys bitch out, or girls bitch out, or kids bitch out. That's the most important thing, because then you can be cool, make sure other people are cool, and where you live is cool, just like everybody you've ever admired in your entire life. So for Canadian men out there who feel bad, guys who sexually harass each other, pretend lying, bitchy, sketchy, ugly old women or wives or girlfriends, bust each other's balls when they won't look at each other enough, jealously harass girls because they're still supposedly better at it, men who are gay-washed, trans-washed, anything but guy-washed, girl-washed, anything but guy-washed, anything but be a man, and confused into doing this, ruining their ability to show and get respect, which is all they want. Steven Crowder gives you an idea of what, you know, you could be like if, you know, if you, as a Canadian man, were raised by American conservatives, as a wild Canadian manimal, where you would be. So right now I head out there, and as BK Black Krishna from manfulwars.com, I typically try to stop this, but people have trouble talking about it, don't want to talk about it, don't like what's happening to them, but don't want to talk about or deal with it. So I'm always in a position to help, or I always politely ignore it. Have a little self-respect, don't lose mine, take anybody else's. And then other people around who see that I don't want to act like that or put up with it are often very, very nice, because as long as you're not doing that, you can be nice, polite Canadians. And so I typically get along great in interactions I have randomly with people where I make it clear I don't want to get worked up and force you to see me touch my face or play with my hair or force you to see me look ugly and make us uncomfortable. And when people do that, they often don't respect each other. So even when they're hanging out in small groups or whatever with each other, they don't really pay attention to each other. They're just looking for other strangers to bother, like anti-free speech zombies making more. So definitely try and avoid it when people, you know, touch their face or head or hair to talk or whatever and all that, because it eventually means that you can't do anything with them because they don't respect you, except for force them to see you look ugly back. And then, of course, you make each other uncomfortable, you don't get along, and then, like zombies, you run around looking for other people to bother and turn into zombies who do that. And you know, Steven Crowder is a big guy. He looks about 6'2", 200 plus pounds, well built. And he could be, if he was still in Canada, as a Canadian man, raised to intimidate other guys into putting up with him. And put up with me, spazzing out near you, walking near you, running at you like a zombie, forcing you to see me look ugly, spaz out, play with my hair, you know, check me out, check me strutting around near you. Come on, pay attention to this. He could be intimidating other guys into doing that, or scaring girls and kids into doing that and putting up with it, and then they have to, of course, do it back, because what else are you going to do with them? And then, what else can you do after that? So you look for more people to bother. He could be doing that, but instead of doing that, he has been raised and is significantly different. And what I'll do is I'll show you a little clip from his Louder with Crowder show of him decrying socialism, something that that many Canadian men are being raised to defend at this point as part of this overall brainwashing. And keep in mind, if you can't talk to people you disagree with, then eventually you can't talk to each other. And the zombification of Canadians and people worldwide to varying degrees, starting with the forcing you to see me, touch my face, everyone acting like a gender-neutral, lying, bitchy, sketchy, ugly girl, that gets worse and worse. And in Toronto, it's gotten incredibly bad. And there's tons of video proof, again, at manforwars.com. But I'll show you here. This is a video from Debunked, Top 5 Socialism Lies from Louder with Crowder. There is the title of the video. And I'll give you a bit of a sample of where he's at right now as a former wild Canadian manimal raised by conservative Americans.
Bigger tax cut that you and the media deceived them into thinking they wouldn't even get. Even the New York Times did an expose on this. Many people who got a tax cut didn't actually believe that they got one at all. Most people saved money, paid less in taxes this year. The middle class benefited from the tax cut. Everyone did. But I bet you're paying more than you thought. Well, what are you saying? You thought you were going to get a bigger price break. Screw you. This is how socialism works. It deceives people into thinking they're worse off than they are by lying to them and then using that misery to get elected, promising to solve everyone's problem with free money. And this was, we'll get to the top 5, I think the biggest myths, the most pervasive myths. All this was reiterated. There was an article this week announcing memes.tv. Did you see it? It's an online socialist media network.
And so Crowder gets into how radical left corrupting normal liberalism and corrupting modern liberalism and making everybody radically left and more socialist. And as Vladimir Lenin, one of the founders of communism in Russia, said, socialism is, or communism is the goal of socialism. So basically, he talks about briefly there how they make you miserable so that you're easier to control, and then you make each other miserable, and then you demand for radical changes to your society as opposed to being happy, confident, optimistic people. So I recommend you check out Stephen Crowder's work if you don't know it already. But and as a Canadian out there, you can see yourself in this guy, and you can say, well, wait a minute. I could be an articulate, funny guy. He's among the funniest conservatives out there. He basically is a conservative alternative to a lot of radical left liberal talk shows out there that are forced to be anti-Trump, that are going for clapter instead of laughter, because you're supposed to clap. Yes, you're right. You're right. I'm clapping. You're not funny, but you're right, and I'm supposed to clap at this, as opposed to actually being funny. Stephen Crowder is a conservative antidote, to that sort of thing. And so as Canadian men out there, you can see, what you could be as somebody who's intelligent, articulate, who can criticize things, who's not totally hardcore right-wing, totally hardcore left-wing, but is an intelligent, independent, free thinker, in his case a bit more conservative, as opposed to rude, lying, bitchy, sketchy, ugly old woman on steroids, bullying your buddies into putting up with you and acting like you, and women and children, and making everyone do that. And that's something that we've got to beat in Toronto, in Canada, and worldwide, as you see it get worse and worse. So anyway, BK Black Krishna from manforwars.com. Feel free to comment, subscribe, get in touch, or donate to the Man for Wars efforts as you'd like. There are links below. Otherwise, I do hope this helps, and I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.